The switch is on. Now had it for 2 years and it has 1,870 kilometers on it. I've charged the battery 75 times and we checked the battery and it's still 99% of capacity, which means it's still like new. So this is the electric motion escape. This is already 2 years old. The newer versions have better plastics, and this actually is the plastic from the new version, because the plastic from the old one broke here at the back. Everything broke. This is really not very sturdy because you're connected here and then the rest is just plastic and you're sitting right on the plastic. I also have to mention that I flipped and dropped it multiple times. Also, the seat that was on here originally was not really good. There was no cover on it, so it would suck up. It was like a sponge. It would suck up the water. And it was not very grippy and it was shorter too. So definitely you want to go for the newer model. So I'm quite small, but this bike I can easily flat foot. No problems. I'm 1 meter 64 centimeters. The suspension on this bike is quite chunky. It's not really, it's not very, it's soft, but it doesn't work like, you know, expensive suspension. This is quite cheap suspension. You can hear the rattling of the suspension very well, especially when you're descending. Good thing, what I like about this, I compared it also to the Sur-Ron, and the Sur-Ron has really small wheels, and the wheels here are like 21 in the front and 18 at the back, which is enduro size. It's a little smaller than my KTM Freeride. As you can see, it's quite a small bike, but it's much bigger than Sur-Ron. On the Sur-Ron, even I was squeezed on that bike, and I'm a really small guy. On this bike I'm quite comfortable. And of course it's much smaller than the 701. What I like a lot is that I don't have to shift gears and work a clutch. Everything is done by throttle. And there's a regenerative brake instead of the clutch. Because this bike has regen braking, the rear brake will never wear out, because it's I always brake with the regen, and that really works perfectly. When I'm on the top of the mountain and the battery is empty and I brake all the way down, then I have enough capacity to get back to the car. You have to keep in mind that these are trials brake discs, which are very small, so it's not like enduro brake. You have to actually take care of these that they don't get too hot. As expected on an electric motor, the power delivery is quite strong initially, and then it flattens out. It runs about 70 kilometers per hour. This engine is really quiet. The only thing you can hear is the chain, and also the chain tensioner is really bad quality. It used to get loose by itself, so I put some notches in here, so it actually gets stuck. Also, what I have on this bike a lot is that the chain pops out. I also put on a new chain kit, but still, if the chain is not really tight, which I think is almost too tight for an enduro, then it will pop out. Because there's no liquids that can spill out, you can lay it on its side or flip it upside down. Common problem with this bike is that there's a belt drive, there's a belt in here, and the belt tore at 1,300 kilometers. luckily when I was just on the way to the car. But if it breaks out in the field, you're really screwed, because this here, you have to open up this, you have to open up the battery, you have to get everything out, you have to get the whole engine out, and then you can take off this whole part here. You put the new belt, take the belt out, put the new belt in, and then you have to seal it all again. So it's, of course, it should be waterproof again. So this is really a problem. We ordered a belt from another manufacturer, put it in, and it's still running, but it's like a ticking time bomb. I don't know how long it's gonna hold. What I know of, they upgraded it on the new models. There should be better belts inside. So you can see this bike doesn't come without problems. Especially the electronics can be an issue. And these issues I could not fix on my own. The control unit is here underneath the seat. Very easy to access. It broke 2 months ago with about 1,600-1,700 kilometers, and the bike didn't run anymore. It was not running, so I had to bring it to the dealer, and he had to figure out what it is. Then after the control unit was changed, the light didn't work anymore after a couple of runs, and also like the display was blank, so you don't really know how much battery you have left, so it's not really, you can't really ride with it. So after that we opened it up again, and we found another unit that was broke, also had to change it. In total I've spent about 2,000 francs in the last 2 years on repairs. This bike is street legal. You can attach a mounting point here for the license plate, but it's totally not good to go off-road. If you drop it once, this is bent immediately. So I never have it on. And then attaching a license plate on the back here is possible. There's a mounting point, but this is really not very stable, and it doesn't really work. You just end up losing the license plate because these mounting points are really small. So this is actually a trials bike, and on the trials version it is cut out here and there's no saddle on it. The battery is smaller, and here the battery is bigger. It comes all the way up here, so I have more range with it. And then we come to this question that everyone asks: what is the battery range on this bike? It depends a lot on the temperature. If it's warm in the summer, with my 65 kilos I can do 30 kilometer loops, technical loops. So I've never really tried it on not technical stuff. Just if you just go really easy on the road or something, I've never tried it because I only go on technical loops with this, which is about 2 to 3 hours of riding with some breaks in between. So it's nice for me for going on a evening run or a little training run. If I want to go out all day, I take a bike that has a combustion engine. Charging it takes quite long, a couple of hours. The bike gets charged on a regular power outlet. Then in the winter I also ride it with spikes tires, as you can see, in the snow, which means in the snow there's not a lot of traction and the temperatures are colder, which means the battery delivers less power. In snow I ride it flat track style a lot, drifting, and then I can do about 20 kilometers, not much more, and roughly 1 hour. And that's a little bit of a downside. On an electric bike you're always checking how much do I have left, when do I have to go back. It's a little bit of a pain, huh? With a combustion you just keep going, and if you run out of gas you go to the next gas station. For me the main reason to buy this bike was because it's quiet. and you don't annoy a lot of people with it. The light works really good in the dark. What you always have to keep in mind in a combustion engine, if you stall it, then you have a gear in, and the gear keeps the bike from rolling backward. And this bike, when I'm on a steep uphill and I lose control of it and I go off the throttle, it'll just roll back. So what I did, I have installed a brake, a bicycle brake with a cable coming down here. The cable goes inside here, so it actually pulls on the rear brake. What I do is I step on the rear brake with my foot, and then I can block it here. And then what I do, I pull this in and I fix it with a zip tie, and then I have a fixed parking brake and it can't move anymore. The bike is very narrow. It has about 80 kilos, which is 20 kilos lighter than a KTM Freeride, and it's very light on the front end, which makes it very agile. When I do consistent uphill, I can do about 1,300 altimeters until the engine cuts out, because it's overheating protection. Then usually I switch off the engine and I wait for about 15 to 20 minutes, and then she's good to go again. I would definitely buy this bike again. It's always been great fun to ride, and I guess in the years to come they're just gonna get better.